The next part is the engine side of the cooling fan shroud. Now this part is really an amazing piece of engineering and a piece of art at the same time. It's a beautiful casting. It's a aluminum magnesium alloy. This thing is super lightweight. You can see all the work that went into the design of it. There's no waste. Nothing extra was done. Just an amazing piece. So one of the things you want to put this rubber elbow on. This is for getting some cooling air to your alternator. One thing about this is it has a bunch of different fasteners to hold it on. There's bolts and some little screw-looking machine screws. So there's quite a bit of stuff, and some of them can be hard to find. It goes on really easy though. So you just want to line up these 4 pins right here, and it just much easier with 2 hands. There it is. And then there's 4 bolts that you put on to hold those, 13 millimeters. So let's do that right quick. Now to put the outer fan shroud housing on is a little tricky because there's alignment issues. You have an alignment pin here, an alignment pin here. You have to get the dipstick tube down this hole and into this hole, and then when you get close, you've got these little flaps right here, and there's a little rod that you have to line up on both sides. So this is not a trivial alignment issue. There will almost certainly be some cursing involved in getting that on. Let's go ahead and put that on. It's going to take 2 hands. Alright, here's the outer fan shroud installed. This is a case where once you get the alignment pin started, it can get really snug. So it's good if you can take just a block of 4x4, put it there, and then hit the 4x4 with the hammer. There and there, and drive it the rest of the way on. I also put a little bit of oil on the outside of the dipstick tube to help it slip through. Now this is a case where there's a fair number of fasteners on this, and some of them are pretty well hidden. You've got fasteners here, 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 here. This one is really tricky and gets overlooked a lot. Here, this is another one that's hard to get to, right here. On the bottom, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here. Let's see, oh yeah, and then there's a couple of larger size bolts. There's a fairly good sized bolt that goes there, and on this side right here. So there's a fair number of fasteners, and some of them are kind of hard to find. Alright, let's do that. Next part that goes on is the alternator bracket. There's a round hole and a square hole. You want the square hole to face out, like that. And then there's just 2 short 13 millimeter bolts that hold it on. Again, I'm trying to do this one-handed, so forgive me. And then we'll just get those in. And there we go. Next part is to mount the alternator. Again, it takes a special bolt which has the square base that matches up with the square hole. You'll hold the alternator, put that through, and that'll line up, and then you got a nut that goes on this side. The alternator, this one is pretty ugly, but you can see where it goes in there, and then there's a bolt up here that holds it on, and that's that. So let's go ahead and put that on. Now the piece of sheet metal you want to install at the same time as the alternator is this one. There's a slot right here for the oil dipstick and a square hole that lines up with this square hole. It just goes over it like that. And there's a couple of screws that hold that on. Then you mount the alternator. And there's what it looks like installed. That's also the good time to attach the other end of the boot for the alternator cooling.